Uncertainty around international funding and medicine supply chains has renewed calls for South Africa to strengthen local pharmaceutical production. The CSIR, the Department of Science and Technology, and TIA have launched phase 2 of the Active Pharmaceutical Ingredient Innovation Cluster, aimed at producing key medicine ingredients locally and reducing reliance on foreign suppliers. Now, we're now joined by CSIR Chief Researcher, Dr. Jenny Lee Panayides, to discuss this further. Thank you so much, Doc, for your time. So let's start then with the country's medicine security position. I mean, while South Africa has what oftentimes been described as a sophisticated pharmaceutical sector, we still very much depend on international suppliers for many of the active ingredients that actually make medicines work. So how concerning then is that in light of supply disruptions, for instance?
Well, it's a massive issue. We rely on almost 98% of our local ingredients being imported. So we have a massive issue in terms of security of supply for our local production of pharmaceutical products. And we've seen that there has been a knock-on effect both during COVID-19 and even more recently with issues with closure of the Strait of Hormuz, that there are supply disruptions. And in order for us to maintain security of supply, not just for South Africa, but for the continent as well, we need to look at not only producing and formulating our products, so not only producing the final fixed doses, but also looking at where those ingredients come from and if we can produce those locally.
So speak to us then about, this phase 2 of the API innovation cluster. I mean, what does that mean for the ordinary South African who takes HIV or even TB, diabetes, or any other chronic meds? What is going to be different as a result of this particular phase?
So the first phase of the cluster was very much focused on institutionalizing academic production. So looking at how we could get academic institutions to start developing processes to produce active ingredients. In this phase, what we're doing by moving into the CSIR is looking at how we can move that closer to commercialization. So we have got a network of universities that are involved in developing processes to produce those active ingredients, a lot of them using new manufacturing technologies. And then CSIR and our implementation partner, CPT Pharma, are looking at how we can translate those processes from milligram and gram scale, where the universities work, up to kilogram scale, which is where they need to be for industry to start looking at those processes to see if they are viable for local production. So we're basically jumping over that gap, that chasm, to see how we can get them from early stage R&D all the way through to where we have a viable business case for production of those ingredients locally.
And do you have an idea in terms of what, or in fact, even which active, pharmaceutical ingredients have been identified and perhaps the most important for the country to manufacture locally?
So we're working closely with the National Department of Health. So they've got a priority list of active pharmaceutical ingredients that they are interested in looking at local production for. So we're working with the National Department of Health to look at their priority list. And then we also are looking to see where we can do modern technologies to bring in cheaper production methods for those drugs. So we're looking at how we can do it not only in a cost competitive manner, but also to ensure that security of supply.
And in terms of, the US aid, the uncertainty around that, I mean, is this one of the reasons that is fast-tracking, this kind of initiative that you're currently embarking on? Or is it a case of making sure, of course, that you have a certainty in this particular sector, or independence, rather, in the sector?
So I think, we have all been affected by the USAID cuts. I think that is something that's affected across the board. But in our instance and in the work that we're doing with the next phase of the cluster, it really has come about by government saying this is a sector that we need to invest in. This is important for local security of supply and for pandemic preparedness. So we are making sure that our populations are protected and that we can localize our own production to make sure that we have supply when we need it and that it's coming through at the right price for us to be able to afford.
Right.
So that has really come in from a government push at this point.
Yeah, makes sense. Dr. Panayides, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. That is, of course, the CSIR's Chief Researcher, Dr. Jenny Lee Panayides, there for us.